we are we are live. Yes. Thanks everybody for joining us for this Sunday afternoon live stream. I do have to work in a little bit later in a little while, but we're going to go until right now it is 2 Eastern. I've personally got time at least for us to go until 3:30, so we can get a good hour and a half if people want to talk that long. And then if y'all are still talking, I'm totally fine with leaving the stream open for a bit if there are more questions. But we'll see how it goes. But everybody, we are here today because Miles Phillips, otherwise known as Boy with Leukemia, right? I keep wanting to say Leukemia Boy. boy with Boy with Leukemia. Oh, and by the way, let me recognize my mods. Here's Vanessa. She's got some announcements for us there. But my mods are Vanessa and Laura B. And AJ and Rebel Bird might join us or might not. I didn't let the mods know about this again because I don't like them feeling pressured. But I appreciate when they can show up. I appreciate them. So yeah, those are the mods. I will say mods. I am okay with a pretty wide range of questions today or comments or whatever people want to say. But if it gets abusive, please no cursing. There's no reason to be, as my mom would say, my mom from the deep south, there's no reason to be tacky. Okay. So they're being really cool. My guests are being really cool coming here and doing a live stream, which a live stream is risky because you don't really know how it's going to go. They're doing a live stream. We're not editing anything out, and they are making themselves available to us for questions. So please be respectful. But that having been said, mods, I don't mind. I don't mind if some honestly intentioned tough questions or comments come through. But we're here today because Miles Phillips, he, as a number of you know, he got arrested. He was arrested weeks ago. And apparently he has pled out to technically it's a 20-year sentence technically for manslaughter because he killed his much older husband. So Miles is 24. The husband would have been in his early 60s, but when this happened, the husband was 58. Talk about that more in a little while. But he pled out, got a 20-year sentence, but that actually will only entail 4 years served in prison. The rest apparently will be done as probation or parole or whatever it is after you get out of a prison. And so it's a 4-year sentence, and we'll talk about that a little more in a minute. But since that has been taken care of now, my guests don't have to worry about the legal repercussions of disclosing some information. They just wanted to make sure in the last interview that we did that they didn't talk about a number of things that the prosecutors might have wanted to keep under wraps or what have you. So I really appreciate that discretion and that care and concern. But we don't have those restrictions or stipulations anymore. So we're going to talk. And my guests here today, they've chosen to be with us for the stream. There is, of course, somebody missing from this stream who was in the interview that I did earlier, and there's no mystery or anything there. Have not had a falling out with this person or anything like that. This person does not retract the statements that they made in the last interview. They just felt like they said what they had to say and didn't want to do it again, right? Which I totally understand. So anyway, that's why he is not here. But there is another major figure in this who was scammed by Miles, and so we will refer to him at times, talk about him because he's an integral part of the story, but just not a guest here. So anyway, okay. So I have here these are the people who were closest to the scammer, Miles Phillips, boy with leukemia, during all of this, and were scammed by him as well. And so we've got Mandy and her wife, Crystal. What's up?
Hi.
And then also Kimberly. What's up, Kim? Kimberly.
Hi.
Okay, so I think where we'll start before I start looking at the chat and questions that people have, why did you want to do this second interview, I guess? And I know that some people here might not be familiar with your story, so we'll go over it, review it again in a moment. But I'm just curious, like, what compels you to come here today? We'll start with you, Mandy.
Well, my main thing is I wanted the actual story out, one. Two, I felt that because we left out so much, there were many questions left in the air. I was asked many times if I was to look at this from another person's point of view, would I believe me? And it got me thinking, But also, I want him known as a scammer. I want people to come together and help me prove that this kid did it in this state, in this particular county, so we can get justice for the people that donated to GoFundMe, which I am actively working with them on an investigation. We're getting some people refunded that we can, but we're actively working on that. And I wasn't able to talk about that last time. So um, I want people to ask me questions this time. I want them to feel like they are being answered.
Um, I appreciate that. I think that makes sense. Kimberly, did you or I'm sorry, Crystal, do you have anything you wanted to add to that?
Well, also, we want to get the word out more because he's only got a 4-year sentence. So he could be out possibly within a year if he has good behavior. So he could be scamming people very, very soon. So by any name, by any disguise, so we want people aware that this is still like an ongoing thing. He could be scamming people very soon.
Yeah, I think that there was a lot of surprise by a number of us as to how this was handled by the prosecutor, but it is what it is. Kimberly, do you want to add anything or talk about kind of where you're at right now?
I just feel like the more that we make people aware of what's going on, they're able to pay attention to what he's actually trying to do. There was so much stuff that we couldn't talk about before that we can now. So, I mean, that way we can get on a public platform and everybody can ask what they wanted to ask in the comments that maybe we missed. We can answer those questions. There's things that we couldn't talk about, and they're like, oh, that looks shady, but no, we just couldn't talk about it. So I feel like this is a better way for us to come out and do this now that we can talk about everything, all the answers to the questions that needed to come out. We can do that now. So that's why I came on.
Well, and I appreciate that too. And again, I think that it's totally understandable why, with all the legal stuff hanging over this, why in the last one there were certain things that you didn't want to talk about. So I did not mean to put this comment up there, but since it's up there, let me just say, Jason, you need new topics. So did you enjoy my Menendez brothers video? It was like almost a 2-hour video that I did with Brett Dasovic the other night. Oh, you didn't watch it? Okay. Most of the people who say I need new topics, they're not getting my videos. So I don't know. The reason we're revisiting this, I've only done one video on this scammer psychopath who met Marilyn Manson, which I thought was kind of interesting. Maybe you didn't, Jason. But the reason we're covering this again is because these people here, my guests, got a lot of shit from other people for questions that they wanted answered or things that didn't make sense and for their seeming involvement in this whole situation. And so they did that video and then they got a number of questions and so they're answering them here. So I don't really understand why that's so difficult to comprehend. But if you don't like the content, Jason, what are you even doing here? I never understand that either. All right, back to topic at hand. So long story short, let me just do a brief summary and then we'll move into things. There was this guy who apparently killed his husband, shot him, and he had claimed abuse. I don't know if that's true or not. Maybe it was. Maybe that's why the prosecutors gave him a more lenient sentence, but more than the Menendez brothers got, right? More lenient. But anyway, he shot and killed his husband. He was on, and so he was awaiting trial. He was out on bail, right? And he decided then that he wanted to go to a Marilyn Manson concert, and so he got this older friend of his, and this is the person who was in the last interview, who's not here today. But basically, he got him to take him to Manson concert and to finance the whole thing and everything. And then while they were at this concert, they met Mandy and Crystal and Kimberly. And at that point, again, this guy, Miles Phillips, was passing himself off as a crippled kid with terminal leukemia who also was mute, couldn't speak, right? And had various health problems, disability issues, or whatever, right? And so, feeling sorry for him, as many of us would have, right? You decided to, with others, to set up a GoFundMe for him to get him to another Manson concert where he could hopefully meet Manson, have a private meeting, get a meet and greet, right? And so basically, two of you, Mandy and Crystal, you went on a road trip with him and with this other guy that he was scamming. and met Manson, set up this GoFundMe, and then basically the whole thing fell apart when you wised up to what was going on, because Miles was acting so strange on that road trip, right?
Yeah.
And Kimberly, you were also involved in this. I know a lot. You couldn't go on the trip, but you were on the phone with them, getting updates, very invested in this situation, and so forth. So then you found out he faked his death, right, online. He pretended, this Miles guy, that he had died. And so he was communicating with some of you, pretending to be his mother, right, saying, oh, he's died and what he's left us, whatever. But as it turns out, of course, he wasn't. And nor did he have leukemia, nor did he have any of these disabilities that he was claiming to have or issues. And so, so the scam's been exposed. He's going to do 2 or 4 years in out of jail. I don't know if he gets out early or not, but 2 to 4 years in prison, it looks like. And so I guess where I want to start with, Mandy, is what are some of the biggest aspects of the story, biggest parts of the story that you left out last time or that you feel need to be explained? If you want to start there, we can. Or if you want to address what bothers you sort of the most about this that you want people to know that people aren't getting, some people aren't getting.
Well, there was a lot of things that I wasn't very aware of. I believe it was September 3rd when I was actually made aware that the other gentleman was not his actual biological father. There were many occasions I tried to send the money, and it was weird. There was a lot of weirdness to it, but who actually just questions a cancer kid? And
just so people understand too, so he was trying to pass off this other person who was in my last interview. Let's just call him D. Okay, he was trying to pass off D as his dad, and apparently he was begging D to not disclose to other people that he was not really his father, and he gave some lame excuse. Right? What was his excuse for that?
He said that his biological father wasn't really his father, so David was his father, and he would be a better father figure to him anyways, pretty much.
So basically, like Miles sort of made you feel like he was really wrapped up in this like role playing or fantasy thing of I don't have a real dad, and so this is my friend here. He's like a father figure to me.
Was after, though, after I found out.
Right. No, I understand. But I'm saying he was telling D, the other person in this, that not to tell anyone because he liked this sort of like projection or fantasy. People would think that was his dad.
And then he started calling me aunt. He was like, I don't have any aunts or uncles. And I really, really wish that you would adopt me. I don't know how many text messages I have from Miles, Matthews, whatever.
Miles, yeah, we can call him that.
Dead kid, prison kid, whatever you want to call this guy. I have message after message. And I mean, I was up till 4 a.m. I work a lot, just like you. I work a lot.
He pretended to be his dad, and he would message us as his actual dad at some point.
Miles would.
Yes. And he would be like trying to sell the kid to us. He was like, I'll give you $5,000 a month if you'll take this kid and take him.
Yeah. There's a lot of things we could because we don't know.
So we thought we were talking to the real dad, but we were not. We were talking to
Mick Phillips guy that he was messaging me under, which I have tons of messages from this guy. He was
Mick Phillips was the father, and so Miles, this psychopath we're talking about or whatever, right? He was messaging you frequently, pretending to be the dad, pretending to be Mick. Okay.
Right. And he was telling me that, there was just a lot of things like and the way he presented it, I felt even worse for this kid, because if this Mick guy, his dad, is trying to sell me his son, of course, how are you not going to feel for a kid like that?
Right. So you meet him at this concert, and he's calling this other guy daddy, and you don't question it, obviously, because you think, well, this guy is older and he's here, pushing him around a wheelchair or whatever. Okay. And he's dad. And then at the same time, he's telling D, this guy, his friend, right? He's telling him that he doesn't want other people to know that he's not really his dad. So it's kind of like he's building it up as kind of this fantasy, like he wants family, just like calling you auntie. He seems to, like, he was kind of, I think, passing it off as this idea of like, oh, I don't have good family, or I've always been abused, and I just like to call people family names, whatever. And so all the while tugging on your heartstrings. But
Right.
but so you meet him, and go ahead. So what is it that you wanted to tell us? I'm sorry, to
Well,
add to this.
there's just so many things, and I really didn't know what's relevant, to his mental capabilities in trial or what. So I kind of kept out a lot. But I mean, this person, he built this wall of just insane truth. So it was like things were there was even a rapist at one point that he named Jason, one of his exes, that sent me these horrible messages about
he was going to kidnap him and
stuff
continue
like
to rape
that.
him, and he loved to rape little boys and shit.
I mean, it was.
So he pretended to be. Let me back up. So he told you all that he had also been in a relationship, or at one point, with this abusive guy. Not talking about the husband at this point,
No.
someone else. But he'd been in a relationship with this abusive guy named Jason. Had assaulted him and raped him, and then he would text you pretending to be Jason.
Mhm.
Yes.
I mean, he would message from 6 or 7 different platforms.
Why would he?
Different people, and that's what raised a flag to us. That's what people need to understand. There was flags raised, but then there was just so many other things that would happen in a day that would throw you off track so quick, because
it was every day. It was something new.
It was every hour.
All you could think was, if any of this is true, because you don't want to question the cancer kid. So now you're thinking, well, maybe their parents are just crazy and, trying to sell the kids. So maybe these aren't even their kids. Maybe they stole these kids and are trying to sell them, and that's how they make money. It's just a new thing every day. And you get so wrapped up in it that you forget like the original story, because everything is just coming at you.
And I think that's an MO.
And it's not that he was just telling us that. He was sending photos and stuff, so we had no choice but to believe him. There was very graphic photos and videos that we were being sent.
Photos,
and I'm like, oh my God.
Of him in
submissive,
being binded and pretty much raped and beaten, is what he said.
So he would send you like BDSM type pictures, but he claimed it was not consensual, and that this was him like actually being abused by someone.
Yeah.
And he said it was Jason doing this, or
the one that the real bad ones that I got, he said were Jason. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
He had a couple different people that he said had abused him.
And that's what I'm trying to make people understand is, yes, flags were raised, but when this flag was raised, he would like switch gears real quick and turn into someone else and start a different, like Mick would get so aggressive with me sometimes that it was unreal. I mean, it was just unreal. And what really made him fall apart was meeting me, because over the phone, you can hide and switch and do this, that, and the other. But in person, you can't do that.
Right.
So people need to understand, until you meet someone in person, especially a great scammer like this kid.
Right. He's pretty much catfishing until
until you meet somebody like that in person, you will never catch their vibe, their MO, or their truth. But when you have them alone in a vehicle for 14 hours, they can hide from you. And that's one way. That's not
get in a vehicle with them.
So you can't just jump out the car and be like, deuces. No. And him saying that I held him at gunpoint at one point to somebody in the hotel. So why'd you get back in the car with me with D?
Right.
I mean, come on.
Oh, he was okay. So we'll get to that in a moment. But
anyways, yeah.
No, that's fine. So I think people need to understand too. Like, I don't know how many of you have seen this. It just came out, but there was a Netflix show called Dear Bobby, and it's about how a woman carried on, I think, like a 10-year scam against her own cousin, pretending to be this Bobby guy that was in love with her. And this lady had a relationship, never met this Bobby guy. But what she says is similar to what you're saying, is that there will always be these like demands on her attention. Like every day it would be some new problem or some new like crazy thing that had exploded in his life. And Bobby would say, oh, I need your help with this, or this happened, or I just had a stroke, or this or that. And it seems to be the MO of these types of people to constantly keep their victims like off balance and really to tug on their heartstrings and their conscience and say and their guilt and I'm sick, I've got leukemia, that sort of thing. And then the other thing is creating other false personas in order to feed into that main narrative. And so, I saw that in this documentary too, but like you're talking about how he had various personas, the Mick, the dad, Jason, the rapist, X, et cetera, et cetera. And so I think that a lot of us, if we were in a situation like this where someone was pretending to be other people, and plus you met this guy, you totally trusted him at first because you met him with his supposed father. And of course, we know now that was another part of the scam that he was setting up. So he was really, really manipulative to set that up because he knows that if he tells people, this is my dad or this is my auntie, then they're going to believe him. Right. And then also, I think, too, that was probably the one step in getting you all to trust him or getting you all to want to help him is also putting that identity onto you. Because when he would call you auntie or he would call, the other guy daddy, that really creates an emotional response, right? I would think.
Yeah. I mean, and for him to, talk about his experiences with me and he would go into detail about his childhood. And I mean, these were, people don't understand the month that this was like 5 years for me. And there were many people. It wasn't just me. It wasn't just Kimberly. It wasn't just Dee. It wasn't just Crystal. There were many people that got sucked in by this kid.
Right.
And people want to blame me. I know, I get it. We want to blame somebody, but the kid is behind bars that you got to blame. But at the same time, everybody that felt for this kid got scammed by him. So it wasn't just the naivety of 3 or 4 people.
Right.
I just happened to do something stupid by being nice and being like, hey, final wish, Manson, let's do it.
And we were on like a time constraint because we thought he was supposed to be dying in October. It wasn't like, oh, we'll save up and take him to a meet and greet next year because he was supposed to be dead next year.
We didn't have
fighting, trying to get him there. And
there were several really good people that helped out in that. And I mean, hats off to them for doing what they did for him, because that makes them great people. You know, anybody that really just...
He was very adamant on, I'm dying in October. So we were like, oh my God, let's get it before October.
The person that got the tickets, and sold them to Dee. I mean, there were really great people that did things for this guy that really screwed them.
Right.
And yeah, I'm mad too.
Right.
I'm pissed. Why do you think I'm here?
Right.
I'm pissed he got 4 years. I want people to do something that makes him see time for what they did, what he did to us.
Yeah, because we thought he was going to get
at least
with
more.
Like
scam, fraud,
something.
So let me ask, I don't know how much you can talk about it, but you have been in contact with the prosecutor in this case, right?
Right.
So maybe a couple of things then. I want to ask about the timeline of you finding out the truth or figuring it out, and then the GoFundMe and stuff like that. But I guess one question to get out of the way: do you feel, looking back now, let me put it this way: looking back now, do you understand why some people would be amazed that this went on as extensively as it did, or would doubt how you could be this gullible? And I'm not trying to insult you or anything.
No, by any means.
I look back and think, how could we be so fucking stupid? But
I mean, when I talk about this to people, they call me the nicest stupid they can find. Because when something, and I have a niece that went through leukemia. When she was in St. Jude, thank God for them. So that is a really big thing for me. So it was already a heartstring I had.
Right.
So it wasn't just some gullible little trip I just made. I had no intention after Nashville of even contacting this kid again. I just did something nice for him. He found me.
So so that's something I wanted to ask you. You met him in Nashville, and then how was contact post Nashville initiated? Did you trade numbers with him, or how did he?
I got Dee's number. Me and him exchanged numbers, but I didn't exchange anything with Matthew at the time. He actually found me like 2 or 3 days later, Kimberly, that we talked about
It
him.
was like basically a day after because he wanted the videos so that he could repost them. Yeah, he found me too. I didn't go looking for him. I had Dee's phone number, so I was just going to send him the videos and let him deal with that. But Miles found us almost immediately. I'm not sure how, but he did. And
Yeah.
that's how we followed him.
I'm sure he has I'm sure he has his ways.
Yeah.
Little skills he's got.
Um, do you feel like looking back, and Kimberly, I'll ask you this, were there moments when you had doubt, but you just pushed it away? Like, did y'all just completely buy this until you went on the trip or until the trip
I
happened?
had doubts.
I believed
Oh,
it
excuse me.
leading up until the time I was told that Dee wasn't the dad.
Yeah, that
I
was when
hadn't
his doubts
completely
started.
bought it until then. And then that's when the doubts happened. But that was 8 days before the trip.
Right,
That's what
right.
people need to understand. That was 8 days before we left when I found that out.
Right.
So the doubts were piling up.
But we were already
But we were doubting
about to be doing
we
this.
were doubting a lot about the parents
It was
and
mostly the parents
and the life he lived in, not
him
him.
so much yet.
If that makes
Right,
any sense.
right, right. No,
Because
it
he had
does.
all this other evidence showing that he had this horrible,
Right.
unreal,
Life.
tragic life.
Yeah.
And so we were more concerned that, the parents might be sex traffickers. I mean, we were up talking about that. We were on speakerphone. We were back in Messenger, just back and forth, all three of us
We
talking.
could not comprehend like
The
how
life
this
of this
stuff
kid.
could have possibly happened. So all three of us are talking like all night long, all the time about various conspiracy theories. Are they selling other people's children? Are they kidnapping people? Are they,
What
is
could
this
it be?
guy that's after him because he's already paid for him and wants his property? You know what I mean? Like, it was crazy.
Right, right.
People have to understand that, it was a literal 30-day
Mind fuck. All it was.
Kimberly, is that how you feel? What do you want to add to that?
There were definitely red flags and moments where you were like, But I mean, again, with the
Can you turn your
stories,
mic down a little? I'm sorry, Kimberly, your mic is really loud. Is there a way to turn that down?
yeah. Is that
Or-
better?
Can you turn it down more? Let's see.
Is that better?
I'm not really sure, honestly. It's fine. I mean,
At all.
it's not that
Maybe
bad.
it's the
No, it's
Bluetooth.
okay. It's okay. Go ahead. Continue. It's fine.
Okay,
It's not that
but
bad.
there were moments where, we definitely were like, this is off. And I don't know about that. But I mean, again, with the storyline that he gave us, like at one point he told me that every day he had to wake up and see his father who had raped him. And I was like, oh man, I've been in a situation where I had to stay with my abuser. That is very uncomfortable, and it was just
Wait,
stuff
his
like
father.
that.
So he was saying that Dee had raped
No.
him?
No, his actual dad.
Mick.
Oh,
guy that
you're
I-
saying this was after you discovered that Dee was not his dad, and then he told you. Okay, I understand. Go ahead, Kimberly. Then.
Yeah. But I mean, and then, he was telling me that he didn't have friends because he was autistic and that all of his friends didn't want to hang out with him because he had leukemia. He was dying. There were things that he would say. And I was like, oh, I mean, I could understand, I guess, because people want to go out and have fun and he's sick all the time. And, I mean, I get it. So, there were things that we were just like, oh my God, that sounds off. But I mean, not with him. It was like she said, with the parents, other people around him, the stories that he would give us was just so out there that you would think this was the worst thing in the world that could happen to anybody. And why is it only happening to him? He's gotten everything that can be thrown at somebody. He's gotten it. I mean, why is this happening? And we were just listening to the story and going along. And I don't think we started to question things until with me, when I found out that that Dee wasn't actually his dad. And that's when I started to question a lot, because I mean, to me, why would y'all play around like that? But then, I mean, things that he would explain it, and I'm like, oh, okay, well, I guess. But I mean, still, it was a whole mind fuck thing for real. Like you were questioning everything that was answered. There was another question you couldn't never figure out what it was. It was definitely something, but you couldn't figure it out.
Right, right. No, I understand that. And again, when you meet somebody, your first impression more or less sticks. And so you meet this guy, he's in a wheelchair, he's pretending to have all of these disabilities. He's there with this guy that you think for a long time is his dad. It seems giving that story a lot of affirmation or a lot of validation there, right? And then you get very emotionally intertwined with this person very quickly because of the way they're manipulating you, because of their sob stories, and also because he seemed really angelic, right? Like he was very good. I saw him, he's very small in stature, looks very delicate, and I'm sure that he was excellent at projecting that as well.
He was.
Oh yeah.
He
Oh,
was. The craziest part about it was I think that's what made me believe his story, I guess, is because of his stature. The wigs, the makeup that he said he wore.
Like
he
at
wouldn't
the
move.
concert, he didn't move very much. He just kind of sat there.
I had to raise his arm to make him like
be able to
rock. And that was at the Nashville show. I mean, there are people that were at the Nashville show with me that are still as like questioning, I guess, as I am.
Uh-huh.
And I guess one of the Miss Barbie, I hope she doesn't mind me saying her name. She was the one who really brought it to my attention that if I was just to sit back and watch this as a bystander, what would I think?
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And I honestly, I'm grateful for her telling me that because,
well, I mean, like in hindsight, everybody has perfect vision. So of course we can look back now and be like, we should have put an end to this way sooner, but everything was happening so fast because
right. And again, it was because he was very clever at getting that time thing. I'm going to go through what I'm going to try to do with this is stop every now and then and get some questions or comments in here, so that because sometimes people want to comment on parts of a story, and I don't want them to wait till we get to the very end. So everybody, hello, what's up? JJ, yes, you made it for a stream. So finally, not a late night stream. Okay, let's see here. Scammers do whatever to scam. Yes. Must have been a dang surreal ride. Sounds like it. Now, this is something that's come up. Rich says, does anybody else think there's some creepy stuff that was going on between Miles and his daddy? I mean, he openly said that they met on the Grindr app, but claims he wasn't looking for sex. Well, all that we can go by is what we've been told. And so that's, those are questions that have to be directed elsewhere if you have them. But I will just say, though, that I really believe that this person was scammed. That was, people have accused D of being in on this in some way, in on the scam. And that's just, I personally, I don't believe that after speaking with him. I was going to ask y'all. So you don't believe that, right?
I don't believe.
I think he's a little bit maybe
too gullible,
more gullible than we are, because it's like he almost.
I think
has
his
to
heart.
Believe it.
I think because he's so financially, emotionally, and mentally invested in it, he can't back himself up away from it yet. I think it's going to take him, because I think what was the timeline he gave us, like 3 years. So it's probably going to take him twice that to back out of the mind games. He's probably been through a million times more than we could ever imagine. Imagine if what he did to us in a month, what he could have done to this man in 3 years.
Yeah.
Right. I will say that I have seen, some video of him with D, like at the concert. Excuse me. Seen some video with him, and I've heard D talk about him, and there is definitely, you can see it in the video and you can hear it in his voice. There's definitely a lot of emotional concern and tenderness for this guy on the part of D. So I can't speculate about the other stuff that you're asking, but I will say that I really think that this Miles guy just totally got his hooks into someone who had real, like, love and concern for him, and almost like a kind of like a fatherly attitude almost. I don't know, I just saw the joy on his face at that concert when Miles was able to meet these people and they were calling out to him from the stage and everything, and Dee was like overwhelmed, it looked like. Anyway, okay, keep going. Oops. Laced in Chains, that David guy even looks like him. When I saw the pics, their side profiles looked identical. Oh, really? That hadn't occurred to me. So they look similar?
In a way, yeah.
in a way.
If you catch them in the right light, they almost, and you got to realize in a mosh pit, it's not the right light.
Yeah.
Right.
So, I didn't even catch on to certain aspects of him until, we were talking later.
Right.
But
Right.
Again.
Tony Marie Anderson says the kid never looked like a cancer patient. Well, that is true in the photos. But I did notice in one of his photos, not the photos from the concerts, but another one, he did look very frail. And so I think that there's something that's not coming through very well in the concert photos and videos. He looks very healthy in those, but I think that in reality, he was actually pretty frail looking, right?
He sent us pictures of him in a wheelchair. He was bald. He was all bruised up. I mean, he looked like they just rolled him out of the morgue. I mean, he really wish I had sent that picture to you, but I forgot to. I'll send it to you later, because it'll just be something for your scrapbook. But man, I bet you have a good one. Anyways, but yeah, I mean, there were pictures that he was sending us of him being in the hospital and sickly. But I do honestly believe that he had a pill addiction because of the amount of pills he had on him and stuff. So those kind of addictions, me being in recovery for many years, but still, an addict,
Right.
that they make you look sickly.
Right. Yeah, because if people watched our program last time, so this guy Miles is clearly addicted to a number of things, and he, unbeknownst to you, he brought fentanyl powder onto your
little road trip
into your van, right, or the car.
He's into the car. Yeah,
He had a big old bag of drugs.
He had a what do you call those? The bathroom bags.
Yeah.
He had a bathroom bag full. Lined with medications. He had Narcan with him. He had so like a thing for his finger. He had all kinds of things with him. The wheel. People have to understand, when we got in the car, he was probably overdosing.
Yeah, he was.
He was almost dead. Like, his heart rate was at like 52. His breath rate was 18 per minute. He was turning blue.
So he did appear sick, but we didn't know at the time that
it was drug related. Until on the way back, we found out we couldn't get pulled over because he had a baggie about that size of fentanyl powder.
Yeah, I was answering Marlena Dietrich's question here too. She said, "Who are we talking about?" So the guy who pretended to be a crippled kid in the wheelchair, sick with leukemia, also pretended to be mute, who was talking most of the time, would just talk via text, right? And that speak and spell for Manson. So pretended like he had all these physical problems, was going to die in October or November, and so scammed them out of money and time and got them to take him to meet Manson, scammed his way into a private meeting with Manson and some of the other bands. So yeah, and he has pled out. Oh, he also was a murderer. He killed his husband. So he pled out on that, and he's going to be going to prison for a few years. Okay, yeah. So at the time, all the medication that he had, it made sense to you because this is someone with terminal cancer, and so I wouldn't have even questioned it. But then he gets into the car, basically ODing, and y'all start frantically looking through the medication bag to figure out like what he's taken or what's going on. And then at that point he says,
on the way back.
Okay.
There we just assumed he was dying of cancer. But we didn't even look in the bag.
Like we told you, like on the way there, I picked him out of the car at every stop. Me and Dee carried him into each gas station to use the bathroom. The whole way there, it was seemingly the same story. When we got there, the wheelchair being broken, when we pulled it out of the car, I carried him up to the hotel room, got him in the bed. You have to realize Dee had just driven 18 hours. We had just driven 14 of those with him. And we were quite tired when we got there. So, a long trip like that, you don't question much of anything. You're just trying to get there.
Yeah. So like when I'm seeing him walk, I'm not immediately like,
sorry,
can he walk a little? Can he walk at all? Is he supposed to be walking?
Right. Yeah, I mean, that's just again, as you put it earlier, that's all such a mind fuck. It's such a mind fuck, all of that.
The whole story, like if we had the time, and we don't, because like I'm telling you, to tell you the detail from start to finish, it would take us at least a month of sitting down.
Also,
Wasn't he doing sign language in Nashville? So we
Yes.
thought that he couldn't talk at all because he did sign language. Yeah.
yeah, he did that. And then on the way back, so he was talking about he might have to go see his probation officer or something. I don't know.
Uh-huh.
And he
we
was
didn't
like,
say
he
that.
was supposed to be, are we not supposed
No,
to?
no, we
Oh.
didn't say that last time. Go ahead.
He was supposed to be, not leaving the state, which we didn't know that either. So he was like, all right, if they contact me, I'm going to tell them I was in the hospital this whole time. And he's forging documents on his phone and showing it to us that he's forging documents saying that he was in the hospital throughout our entire trip in Alabama. So when we finally find out that everything he said was a lie and we're arguing with him on the phone, he's like, I didn't go to New Mexico. I was in the hospital the whole time. I don't know what you're talking about.
And then he accused me of
Molesting him.
of touching his partner. What? No part.
No spot.
No spot. That's what it was. Instantly after I went straight at him because
Wait, when was this? Was this on the way back?
No,
This was after. So the concert was on the 11th. We didn't get back to like the early morning of the 13th. By the 14th, I think, is when we started figuring shit out. And on the 15th is when we started telling people.
Yeah.
And so at that point, he was then telling people that you, Mandy, molested him?
And that I held him at gunpoint in
Yes.
the hotel. At one point that I heard
that they were scared for their lives.
They were scared for their lives, but they didn't call the cops or anything. So after, like, on the way there, he is trying to convince Dee that I am using his credit card to buy things that he doesn't know about.
So he's already trying to turn Dee against us,
but we didn't know that.
Anything.
We didn't know any of this till later. Me and Dee were figuring stuff out. After the concert.
And he was texting me, telling me that Mandy shot at him in the motel, trying to turn me against Mandy. And I'm like, wait a minute, what is going on here?
Like, it was just such a ridiculous. Yeah, and I did bring my gun. But that
we were scared.
We were scared for our lives. Our kids.
I tried so hard to back out of this. Like, we weren't supposed to go originally. They were supposed to go to the New Mexico concert. We were just helping them get there. We weren't going. And suddenly Dee is like, well, I can't take him. And I'm like, we went through all of this to get these tickets, to get this money raised for you. And now you've got the tickets and you're like, well, I'm just not going to take him. And then he tells us he's not the dad and all this other shit. So now we have to go and
help get him there.
We're not really wanting to. So she brings a gun. I've got a knife. I'm waiting on them to try to rob us in the New Mexico desert.
We had
leave
no
our
clue.
bodies there.
I mean, I trusted Dee. I mean, I still do. I mean, I believe he's a great guy.
Yeah.
I believe that
But we didn't know that at that moment.
But we didn't know. We knew that his dad raped him. His dad's friend raped him.
Everybody has raped his kid.
And so we didn't know if we could trust Dee on the way there. So our kids were like, no, you're bringing a gun. Yeah, you're bringing your gun. And so I did have a gun. Yes, I did. But no, it wasn't fired. I don't genuinely just go across country not knowing where I'm at or who I'm with without any kind of protection.
Makes
so
sense.
Yeah.
I mean, who else would have not thought to do something like that?
We'd only seen them in person at the Nashville concert.
One time.
Right.
It could be anybody trying to lure us away.
Plus, after all the stories we had heard,
we don't know if there's people following him trying to.
I know.
That whole Jason story was traumatic. He said this guy knew where he lived. He knew his car. He could come to his house at any time, bust the door down, cut his head off. Like, he was giving us very graphic images. How he had beaten him before, how he had took advantage of him before because he couldn't walk. His legs didn't work. He would tie him up, do what he wanted to do. And he didn't just say it and send us videos of this. He sent us a whole picture of a man. I don't know who that man was, but he had graphic pictures of this man as well. Like, his no spot. And it was
Everything.
exposed. And I don't know who this guy was, but we saw it, all of it.
We know all of
And
your
we
parts,
were just
Marilyn.
like, what is happening here? You know, like this kid is really doing the most.
Yeah, so
Right.
he thought his life was in danger at all times as well.
So we weren't
and
gonna.
that his mother didn't care. She just sat on the laptop all day long, and he would be hurting
the
and
way
dying.
he talked about
He
her.
talked about her so bad.
He ran her through the mud. He kept saying that she wouldn't. He even had our Disney Plus.
Yeah,
And
he told me that his mom wouldn't let him have the Netflix password, so I gave him my Netflix and Disney.
I kind of like that. Whoever just put that comment, I absolutely
What
love
does it
that
say? I can't
person.
see it.
He's Amber Heard's brother. No, it's true. It's true. So, okay, several questions then that I have here. Oh, let me see if there's anything else. Marlena.
I can't see that shit.
Hyacinth said, in a nutshell, I lived through my grandmother dying with cancer in my preteens. Also, my friend has survived cancer through COVID. So it is pretty dang sick, but not the kind he was. Yeah, I mean, he was a whole other level of, it wasn't just that too. It was the autism and the muteness and the crippled and
As
this
far
and
as
that.
we don't
multiple
know,
personalities.
we can't make claims to absolutely every problem he has, but we can make one claim. He is not right here. There's nothing right there.
Yeah. He sounds like a classic psychopath, honestly, or sociopath. Like somebody, honestly, like talented Mr. Ripley or people like this that you see in these documentaries. It's crazy. So let's talk a little bit about the GoFundMe.
Mhm.
How did that come to be? Whose idea was that? How did it come to be? And what was the money for the GoFundMe supposed to be for? And then what did it actually go toward? I think people just want to know the specifics of the money thing.
So me and Dee were talking, and he was telling me that his Amex card was getting a pretty decent ride, and that these tickets were going to be pretty expensive. And I said, and the trip was going to be pretty expensive. And I told him, well, there's things that we can do to try to help you out. And I said, maybe that there's a cancer website, or, Make-A-Wish,
he was the dad at this time.
I was like, maybe there's a Make-A-Wish, or maybe there's something like that. And I did a lot of research. And one of the number one things that popped up about that was like a GoFundMe. And so I ran it through with Dee, and he was like, okay, we can use it for the trip expenses. So I set it up. I got a few people involved. I wish I wouldn't have had to because of how it played out.
We kept trying to give Dee the money also, but
we
didn't want no part of it.
We didn't really want,
because since we thought he was the dad, we wanted, even if Matthew died, he would have some money.
But we also, it was like one day before the money was going to be refunded. I had pressured him for like 2 weeks to put his account to it. I had set many administrators to look at that account that could see that account, to see that I was being transparent about it, that it had no, I had no stake to it. So he was like, well, I just don't know. He's like, you can just write me a check when I get there. So I set up my account to it. So it was going to go for the hotel stay, the gas, the 2 tickets for him and Miles. And that's what it was going to go for. So I set it up. We get wonderful donations. Wonderful people donated, unfortunately. And so when he's we're about ready to he's telling me that he can't go, this, that, and the other. And I'm like, well, I'll just refund the GoFundMe if you're not going to go. And he was like, well, I can't go unless I have somebody that comes with me, because I can't go across country with a sick cancer kid. I just can't do it.
Right,
so
right.
I was like, well, how about this? What I'll do is I'll buy me and Crystal seat tickets, and we'll ride with you. So I paid for the hotel with that money. And then Miles threw a fit about having pit tickets. He was not going to take anything but pit tickets. So I told David, I was like, or Dee, that, these tickets were going to be $1,000. And he was like, well, if it makes him happy, do it. So I bought the $1,000 tickets. So between the hotel, the 1,300 after taxes and all this other stuff, tickets, there wasn't much left over in the GoFundMe anyways. So we paid like 2 or 3.
Well, right. That's what I think people need to understand too. I think people get it in their some people who don't know have it in their head that there was this a GoFundMe that went on for a while and it was just raising like all of these, thousands of dollars for him, and then that just got taken by him or whatever. When really it was pretty much just more or less just the cost of the travel and the hotel
we had
tickets
set
and
a
everything, right?
goal at 1,500, and I think it might have gone up to 17.
Uh-huh.
But as soon as we got back and we saw that he was posting some
Cash
other
App
donation thing, we immediately closed it where nobody else could donate.
Uh-huh.
So that even if it was like shared around, people could not donate anymore. And that's when we started telling people, this is weird. Something's not right. We didn't know what was
And
wrong.
y'all blew the whistle on that. That was the
Oh,
thing
yes.
too.
Yeah. Instantly.
Yeah.
As soon as I saw the Cash App, I started, and
for people who don't understand, what happened was they had set up this GoFundMe with some other Manson fans and had raised this money for the trip and the expenses associated with it. And then Matthew claims that he had a broken wheelchair and he needed a new wheelchair, and so he set up a cash.
He claimed that I broke the wheelchair.
You broke it. So then he set up a Cash App. Miles did set up a Cash App asking people to donate, and then you get concerned. This is when really huge red flags start going off, because you're thinking, wait, why is he doing this separate source of funding over here, right?
Because there was enough left over. There was like 200 left over. And that would have covered the cost of a wheelchair. And I had
he wanted a big expensive one.
Miles had contacted me saying that I needed to give Daddy the money. I needed to give Daddy the money. Give Daddy the money. I was like, look, we've already talked about it. You're going to get that wheelchair. You're fine. The next day he posted that Cash App, and I got in touch with Dee and I said, look, why is he posting about that when we've talked about us, sending you the rest of that for that? And he was like, he was telling me it was for the expenses of the trip or something like that. And when I sent him the picture of it, he was like, that's weird. And so I blew the whistle. I went to everybody I could. I started talking to the people that helped me get the post out there and stuff like that, saying, look, this isn't right. I don't know what's right, what's up with it, but it isn't right. I've been told all this, but this isn't right here.
Right.
So I can't tell you, I wasn't saying he was scamming people. I just knew that something was off.
Yeah, we didn't know anything yet. We just knew that was wrong.
So I got so much backlash from blowing that whistle that I see why whistleblowers stay the fuck silent.
And I think I told you to speak up, didn't I? And I was like, nobody's not going to believe this. You're coming out and telling the truth. Nobody's going to not believe you. I mean, you could let this scam go on for the end of time, but the fact that you're coming out and talking about it, they have to understand. They have to hear you out. And it was the opposite. My jaw was to the floor. I was like, they say what? They're saying that you're doing what? Nobody believed her, even after she came out. And that was the weird part about everything, was they should have listened to her and believed her, because she came out. She didn't have to say anything.
I think probably in these situations, unfortunately, especially when we're talking about social media, people often will just have like a general view, a sort of a hazy view of the situation, and they don't know or stop to think about the particulars or the details, like, oh, let me think about this. So, no, she's blowing the whistle on this. If she weren't doing this, then the scam would just continue. So no, this doesn't make sense that she's behind it. But people don't really think about that. Honestly, they see a picture of you at the concert smiling, next to Matthew.
He's calling me auntie.
It looks like you're part of it. Even someone like me who had no idea what was going on, my first thought was, these people are probably in on it. So I think that with social media, once that sort of a train gets rolling, then it just really gathers steam until there's a reason to think otherwise. And so I do feel like after y'all did that interview with me a week or two ago, whatever it was, I feel like almost everyone has come around on this and has seen, okay, these people were scammed. This was just, I don't think people knew how crazy this was. Right?
Yeah. No, I mean,
crazy.
We didn't even, I don't even believe how crazy it is. Like, if you could, I want people to understand that, like, I feel crazy because of how crazy it was.
And he kept sharing like all these supposed traumas. And then we would turn around and share parts of our life with him, which our parts were true. So his trauma,
Uh-huh.
maybe he's embellished, but it like traumatized us to hear
Yeah.
it.
Because we had already had it.
Because we have kids. So when we think this kid's been molested and raped since he was 6 by his own father,
Maybe
Right.
like parent of
we're
the year.
traumatized.
Right.
I just
Right.
the one main thing that I want people to really understand is, if I had anything to do with this, why am I doing everything I can to see him more jail time? I am trying my best to get people together so I can find a way to prove that this fraud happened in a certain county, so I can make that county go and press charges against fraud and whatever the GoFundMe stuff is, and if I could find a way to press drug charges against him for every state line I crossed, I would. I would go to every county of the states and be like, look, Miles Phillips crossed with some fentanyl. What do you want to do about this shit? I mean,
Yeah.
I do not believe a person like this should have freedom. I do not. Not only did you take a life, but you've taken mental pieces from people. You've taken monetary pieces from people. You have made people that are kind-hearted like me question everybody. Question everything that you do for people or what you're ever thought about doing for people.
And people in jail, like even county jail now, have access to social media, so he could be scamming people right now to get commissary and shit.
And anything he wants.
Oh, yeah.
If
That's
his face isn't out there and these people don't know that this kid
And
is
it's
this,
him. It's
do
him.
not give him anything under any of these names, under any
Right.
picture that you get of this person. Then other people are going to be taken advantage of, just like all of us were.
Right.
yeah.
All the bands, everybody that did anything nice for him is going to be
Here he is, by the way.
post that.
Miles Phillips. He always has that weird look in his mugshots there.
Yeah,
He's smiling.
And then here he is when he claims that he was a woman. I still think that was probably bullshit, but I don't know.
Hear
what do I know?
I don't know. I hear that
We hear that that's true, but
So he was born a woman. He
that's
is
what I
to some
hear.
degree transgendered.
They have him under male in the roster too. So,
well, they have to go by
right
what your self identity.
Yeah.
But so anyway, I don't know. But either way, it's messed up. Either he's someone who is so unhinged from reality with his identity that the gender thing is just another iteration of that. It's just like the other masks that he puts on and wears, or he's lying about that too. So either way,
that
it's
very well could be.
Well,
we still don't have
up.
all the facts.
I wish we could tell people just the bottom line. He did it because of this. He's this way because of that. But we don't know.
We don't know. We still don't know.
Yes, we were closest to him when this was happening. But we're also his worst enemies right now.
Right.
We're also his worst enemies. Because
do you have any sense of whether or not he killed his husband out of some kind of abuse that was going on, or whether that was just a lie as well? I tend to believe that it was just another lie, because it seems like he's told all of these lies about other people being abusive, you being abusive. So I tend to think it's BS, but it does make me wonder the fact that the prosecutors, talking about the Menendez case earlier, the fact that the prosecutors are only going to make him serve a few years in prison. It's a manslaughter charge. It makes me think maybe there was something to the abuse, or they just don't think that they could prove it. I don't understand the lenient sentence.
I think
it could be.
I don't believe it.
I don't believe it either. Because if you accuse every single person who has ever disagreed with you of raping you, then you probably have not been raped by these people. Maybe he was abused at a young age, and so now that's what he thinks
gets him the attention
or something
or whatever.
So I mean, it's possible that he has been abused. I'm not going to say that he absolutely has not, but I don't believe that if you're going to accuse every single person of abusing you and molesting you, that all of these claims can be accurate. You cannot continuously lie and throw in a little truth and expect people to believe you once your lies have been found out.
I just want to say that, like, I honestly believe that the DA took what they could, because think about how crazy this is. Could you imagine if he pled insanity? Like,
Right.
um,
And all of
that's
this could have been just to kind of get away
get
from
away
this
with it,
charge.
or find somebody like to buy him and
Because how
keep
can
him
you
safe.
prove otherwise? He's forged documents. I have seen him forge documents.
Yeah.
He showed a bunch of people online even that he had this terminal cancer, and then people started questioning, where's your name on this? Where's this?
And then
Where's
he
that?
forged it even further to where
Yeah.
it had his name, but then there
He
was
gave
things
us
missing.
he gave us supposed documents of his multiple personality disorder
And his
but
cancer, and
and
Yeah,
until
so he forged, that's the thing too, he forged a bunch of documents. I mean, this
Yes.
guy was willing to go to extreme lengths here. And again, if you have no reason to suspect someone, your guard is going to be down from the beginning, right?
Right, and at first when you see documents, you don't automatically assume they've been forged.
Right, right.
Well,
Well,
my
so
thing is I think that he used I think he used this as a catalyst to get a smaller sentence. I think
Well,
that
he told us that man drugged him too. So who's coherent on drugs? Nobody. I mean, he said
right.
that people were drugging him all the time. So we didn't know what to think about any of that. We thought his parents were drugging him to like keep him calm at one point because
Yeah.
I mean, why is he just happily walking around with a dad that's sexually
Right.
abusing him all the time? I mean, that's uncomfortable. So, I mean, we're thinking that he's being drugged just to be kept quiet and God knows what else is going on. But I mean, at that point in time, he told us people were drugging him. So that's what we were going off of.
Right, right. A couple of comments here come in. Yes, that's right. Laced in Chains says people who've been through abuse and TV do not accuse lightly. That's true. Werewolf says, I've got to go, but glad I caught a live stream. Good, good. Thank you, thank you. Laced in Chains says, please don't regret caring. There aren't enough people in the world with such kind hearts. I appreciate you. That's nice. Thank you, Laced in
Thank you.
Chains.
Thank you.
And Tony Marie Anderson says the amount of financial and emotional load he laid on these poor people is crazy. Well, that's the thing too. We're talking about how, this has changed your outlook on life and on people, and you're going to be much less trustworthy going forward. I think that's absolutely true. Let's see if any others I didn't mention. Kai Aloha. You and Jens can get together and complain. When will you cover something else? A while back, you mentioned how Tug needed to pivot, and he has. When will you? I miss watching you. Well, Kai, if you want to send me a $500 donation, I will make a video just for you. How much have you donated over the amount of time that you've been watching my channel? I'm curious. But let me say, Kai, a couple of things. Did I ever tell Tug that he needed to pivot? I can't see myself lecturing Tug, telling him he needs to pivot. But if you say I said it, then I said it. Sometimes things slip out. But here's the deal, Kai. I have been putting other stuff out. I put out stuff on Ricada. I put out a video on life and the depressing aspects of it. I put out videos on the Lindemann concert that I went to. I just did a video on the Menendez brothers, and I'm going to be doing another one, actually. I'm putting it together right now. It's supposed to come out a couple of days ago, but I'm late on it, but it's coming out today. I'm about to start doing more Menendez coverage. But Kai, you mentioned the umbrella guy. So he has pivoted a lot to covering the Hales, which is an interesting, though lesser known topic. But do you want to know how his views are doing compared to the Amber Heard stuff? Way down. And in fact, the biggest video view wise that Tug has had was when he covered Amber Heard 2 weeks ago. There was something going on. I think her team sued someone or something. And so here's the thing. Once you get locked in on this algorithm, and once you get a certain fan base, then that is what the algorithm and the fans continue to reward. So when I put out a video on philosophy, or I put out a video on Ricada, or I put out a video on the Menendez brothers, or other things that I have tried to put out, they don't get the views. In fact, they don't even get normally exposed to people on YouTube because the algorithm kicks it. So there are a lot of things going on, Kai, that you might not be aware of. But I will say this, the Johnny Depp story is over. The Manson story is continuing because guess what? He's still involved in some fucking lawsuits with people. The DA still has not closed the fucking case. That's still hanging over his head. In fact, Esme Bianco is getting and George Gascon are getting big stories in the media the last few weeks regurgitating or revitalizing these allegations against him. So this is still like a very current story. Now, I understand, Kai, you might have gotten tired of it. You want to move on, and you're welcome to. But I seriously doubt as to whether you've been following my videos as closely as you say you have, because I have been putting out other stuff. But when I do, it doesn't get nearly the views. But I've just been to 3 Manson concerts and a Lindemann concert. And that's why I've been covering it. I know. That's why I've been covering this stuff, because there's still shit going on. And Kai, most of my viewers are Manson fans, and those are still my videos that do the best. So it's a difficult thing to branch out when your viewers and your algorithm do not reward that. And also, primarily also because I think this is still an ongoing story, and I'm trying to cover Manson's comeback, and this has nothing to do with Evan Rachel Wood. What we're doing here, this is a totally different story about a psychopath who scammed his way to a cross-country trip to meet with a major rock star and who killed his husband. Like, that's not an interesting story for you? Like, what the fuck do you need, Kai? What do you need?
Drugs.
Do you need me to, like, here we go?
Mental illnesses. What? I mean, like,
I don't know. I shouldn't even address it because people are always going to have stuff to complain about. But I just would say that the pivot you're talking about is a little more difficult than you think. And that's why, no offense to Tug, I love his stuff and his Hales coverage is really interesting. But he's not getting near the views that he used to get, near the views, having pivoted away from the Johnny Depp Amber Heard stuff. But that, I agree, that topic is over. That's why I don't cover it anymore. You know, I got into this thing on YouTube to cover Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. I got my biggest views from that. I got my million view videos from that. And guess what? When's the last time you see me doing a Johnny Depp or Amber Heard video? So I have pivoted from my first thing. But the Marilyn Manson thing, it's still going on. It's still going on. And there are many different levels to this story. There are things that still have to play out, and it's still in the news. The DA and the future DA of LA are talking about Manson, and it's getting lots of coverage in the news. So I just don't know really what your beef is here, except that you personally have tired of the Manson thing. And you know what? You're welcome to go. I'm sure I will miss the hundreds of dollars that you have donated to my channel. Right. Okay. Ladies, back to it. Super chat here. Rebel from the waist down says, shout out to all the Manson fans worldwide. Greetings from Canton, Ohio, the birthplace of the Antichrist superstar.
Hey, shout out to all the Manson fans. That's right.
Greetings to you as well. Let me ask you something. Do you think it's a little odd that out of all the things that Miles could have scammed people into paying for, that he decided to do a Manson concert? Like, I guess he really is a big Manson fan, huh? Why go to all this trouble?
Right. I mean, yeah, if I was about to go to jail for a long time, I would want to go see my favorite band beforehand. I would probably just go do it by myself, but you know, that's one route that he took.
It's odd to me now that I think about it, though. Why didn't he do that anytime prior to all of the? He's been a fan for a while, so why couldn't he have met him previously? I don't understand.
It is a little odd.
I can't.
That is a good question.
I haven't. That is one question, Kimberly, I have been asking myself. Why would you do all of this just to see Manson when you could have done it
beforehand
any other time?
I guess he thought maybe he was going to go to prison for life, and
maybe this really was his final wish, right? He's like, you know, some people want a final meal before the execution. He was like, it really was his bucket list, I guess. I mean, in a way, he wasn't really lying about that, right? Because he knew that his life was about to be over. Although, as it turns out, they're only going to give him a few years in prison. So
we'll be seeing him in a Manson concert in a few years.
No, we won't.
And Kimberly. Not before.
What did Manson say? I got my lunchbox and I'm armed real well. Hey, bring it.
Bring that shit. We'll be seeing him afterwards.
So,
he'll make it to the line.
Now the parents. Have any of you met the parents, the real parents?
No,
not me.
No. I was going to say, I thought I got a text, but no, that was just Matthew saying he killed himself.
So you've never communicated with the real parents then?
No, not that I'm aware of. And what strikes me odd about not talking to them is that they communicated like in child has been scamming people.
Sorry, say that again. You kind of went out there for a second. They communicated what?
They communicated with D almost instantly after he got arrested. So,
and they made it a point, whoever it was, the mom or the dad, I'm not sure, made it a point to tell D, we had never spoken before via text until now, because Matthew Miles had been telling D that he was texting as the parents this whole time. And one of the parents made it a point to say, we have not contacted you via text until right now.
But if it was your child and you see all these messages where people are sending your child, items, they've been sending him whatever, they've been talking to him about the family, why wouldn't you reach out to these people and be like, hey, I'm sorry this happened, but we'll do everything we can to make this right? Exactly. I mean, why only reach out to one person? Why not make a public post about this to correct it unless you're involved, or unless you knew?
They had to know.
Right.
You have all this stuff coming home with your child. If my son was
bringing home just random merchandise from bands signed, I'd be like, where are you getting that? You're not supposed to leave the state, remember?
Like, where were they at in the state? Because they're not playing here.
Yeah, so I want to say they know something.
Like, that's what I'm trying to get at. Like, I want to find out what I can do to get people together to do a class action lawsuit or something, to where we can get people reimbursed for the items that they've given.
Yeah, because it's not just the GoFundMe.
It's not just the GoFundMe people.
Gifts.
There's people on fixed incomes that were sending him most of their monthly income because they felt bad for him. Like, these people didn't deserve that at all.
Right.
We know somebody that was trying to rent him a wheelchair for a couple days until it came in, just to make him more comfortable. These are the kind of people that got scammed out of stuff that other people don't know about.
Right.
Right.
Donate a little bit. They were putting forth effort.
Right. And it's sad. I mean, even more, I know the money itself is, it's a loss, but it's also the fact of like what that symbolizes, what he did to people. And of course, D, he talked in the last interview about how he had spent thousands over the course of his entire friendship with this Miles guy, and the things and the charade about abuse and then cancer and all of this. And then D spent thousands and thousands. So the person who it seems like was stolen the most from was D at this point, but thousands of dollars. And no, it's crazy.
I do want to address that Rich Campbell guy. What's he say? I want to tell
he
Rich
says, I'm all for that lawsuit. I sent him personal stage used Manson items from my personal collection. Oh, and I see, and stuff like that.
You know what I mean?
That is like, not Rich, replaceable.
I want people to find me. I'm going to unlock my page now that people have stopped sending me threats and that I can burn in hell. So I plan to unlock my page, and you guys can get in touch. I will comment on this video. You just reach out to me, and I plan to do everything I can to get anybody any of their stuff back, because he has my personal stuff from the concert.
Right.
I gave him my personally signed stuff just because I thought he was dying. So yes, and I am going my hardest against this kid. So.
And the people that were in both concerts with us, like when they're throwing out guitar picks and drumsticks, all of that went to him. Nobody else. I mean, I'm sure other people got some guitar picks, but most of that stuff went to him. So everybody in the crowd is out a little something if they could have caught it.
I mean, there was stuff that, like, in Slaughter to Prevail, Marilyn Manson. I mean, Marilyn Manson singing to the funeral portrait, finding merch for him because he had to have it.
Yeah.
Robert is just, like, incredible. He walked across the lawn, found him a 6-foot flag, gave it to him, and we still had to buy him a shirt. All those people at every concert that stopped him and gave him something, stopped him and gave him the shirt off their back.
Right.
Those people suffered too.
Yeah.
And I mean, it pisses me off. And that's what people don't get. I wish people would stop trying to attack me and start coming together with me. Because if we came together, we could force those parents to pay back those things. Give back that band merch where that band can give it to the people that deserve it, not the people that just took it.
Yeah.
Right. Well, and I do think that honestly, since the last interview you did with me, since that came out, I really think that almost no one anymore, like I see almost no comments
Yeah.
accusing you or still propagating this idea that you were in on this. I but and I will say this also, no matter no matter how right you are in the right you are justified, and no matter how many people believe you on social media, there are always going to be a few people who are going to criticize everything that you do, or who are going to find fault with you, or just out of nothing else but just personal anger that they want to express, and you're a target. So unfortunately, I would say try to brush that off, and it's hard to do. It's hard for me to do with critical comments too, right? But and I know that there's a certain fine line here too, to like, you want to brush that off and you want to say, who cares what a few people think? But then also you feel like you should also address these questions, because there might be other people who are feeling the same way or who are swayed by that. And that's something that I deal with a lot with my channel, right? Like every time, even when I get like critiques like just now, every time I get a criticism, I think, okay, should I just blow this off or should I address it? Are people wondering that? And so I understand why you're here, and it makes perfect sense. Um, do you do you feel like what do you feel like is going on with the prosecutor? Did you get any sense of why they're not pursuing him? I know she said it was hard proving jurisdiction, but why they're not pursuing him for this, or why they're not prosecuting him more harshly for the murder? Did you get any sense of that from her?
Honestly, the limited communication I've had with her, I don't really get or conversations and stuff like that I've had with her. I really don't get a sense. I think she wanted justice for the family. I think that she felt that if it went to a long-term trial, she might not have gotten.
They're always trying to settle too.
Well,
honestly.
And some juries, they're sympathetic to people that go through stuff like this. And as she stated, there is 16 years of parole. He messes up, he goes right back.
Yeah, but they couldn't keep him in the state before he got arrested. He wasn't supposed to leave the state. So
we can't
if he gets out in a year, I'm watching out my windows like a crackhead with a gun because he knows where I live.
He knows where we live.
Yeah.
He knows my dog.
Also
so my dog knows him, so he won't be no freaking help.
He also knows, who put him in jail.
Right.
He knows I'm the one who did it.
Right.
I'm not necessarily scared of that little boy, but I'm going to say that, Zombie Matthew needs to stay, in Alabama because in Tennessee.
Won't step foot in Tennessee.
The way you came.
Yes.
I'm just saying.
No, I know what you mean.
It's just, my thing is that I'm not I hate having my face out there, my name out there, and I hate people attacking me. But if that's what it takes to stop anybody else from getting scammed by this evil, conniving person,
right?
If it stops him from seeing Marilyn Manson ever again, hell yeah, I'm down for that, because Manson doesn't deserve that kind of treatment anymore.
Right.
If it stops him from going into Alex Terrible's, Slaughterville, the funeral portrait, all of them
next on the list of who molested this motherfucker,
or who he wants to see next, whatever the case may be. I don't want. I want people to know that if you see this picture or if you see this kid, don't give him money. I don't care
if he changes his appearance and his name. So
but at least
be on the lookout.
Right.
No, I know what you mean. I was laughing at changing his appearance because he really is like a talented Mr. Ripley type or something, the way he's changing. Somebody was asking for your interview. So this is the earlier interview linked here. If you go on YouTube, if you go on my page, you just scroll down the recent videos. But it's titled Our Road Trip with a Psycho Murderer. And then there's also a short video that I did. This is just a short little mini doc that I did explaining this situation. You can even hear his voice on this recording. You got a brief voice recording, but of course he was whispering, right? Because he's trying to pretend that he's mute. He doesn't talk. He's like, oh, so I don't talk very much, but I really appreciate you.
You watched that a little too much.
That was him.
I really appreciate you. So what do we have? We have about 10 minutes.
Okay.
I'm going to give each of you a chance here. Mandy, and Mandy, of course, you've shown me, I'm not going to take time to do it here, but you've shown me various texts backing up what you're saying and with this. And so if you're welcome to if you want to share them on your page or whatever. But I have seen over the course of these interviews, I have seen private documentation, Ramil, even documentation of your conversations with prosecutor and GoFundMe as they say, thank you for contacting us about this and we'll be refunding, letting us know and so forth, and we'll shut the GoFundMe down. So I think you fully validated things to me, but I'm curious, what would you like people to know, or what would you like to say to people, Mandy, that you haven't been able to say?
Well, for one, I really haven't been able to say sorry to people that it got as far as it did before my voice was heard. Anybody that got hurt from the Cash App on, I'm sorry. Yeah, I couldn't stop it faster. Before that, I'm sorry I was stupid. But I do want people to know Manson fans, that whole set of bands, let's just put it that way. Manson fans, the whole set of bands, what they did, the love, the kindness, the generosity, the humanity, I guess that's the humanity shown by such a group of people should never be overlooked. No matter what the middle of the story is, the surrounding parts of this story is beautiful. From I don't think in a million years I will ever forget the look Manson had on his face when he looked at Matthew. Still cry about that because it was just so heartbreaking to me, and I guess it sucks that I still feel that way. But he just loves his fans, and for him to see a fan like that, you could see it broke him, that he wanted to do what he could. And so Manson shows love like that. So every Manson fan should continue to show love to each other. Okay? Every person that showed love should just continue to show love. That's how I feel about that. So,
Crystal, thank you for that. Crystal, do you have anything you want to add?
I don't know. I guess he really just manipulated a bunch of people that were trying to do good in the world because, maybe we need that kind of karma because of past things, maybe not, but we were trying to do good in the world and it bit us in the ass. So, I mean, that sucks. But honestly, I can't say that we wouldn't have done the same thing if we had to do it over again with the information we had at the time. We probably would have still done it the same way because we were just trying to be nice. We were trying to help. I mean, naturally, if we would have knew, we would have done things a lot differently, but we did not know. And honestly, I can't say that if we were to go through something similar, that we wouldn't try to help another person in that same situation. We might want a little better documentation next time, but we generally try to help people that are less fortunate than us. We donate to charities. We give as much as we possibly can, and maybe that makes us an easy target, but I don't know that I would change it.
I don't want to live any other way.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's right. And we all have to I think we all have to find that balance in our lives. But like, I can't give money every time I see a homeless person.
Right.
But sometimes, you know what, I see somebody and at that moment something about them tugs at my heart, or just I have some money that day and I want to. And so, I was having this argument with my boyfriend yesterday about some stray cats because there's a couple of they're so adorable. It's a mama cat, and I guess she only had one baby of her litter survive. And they came up to they've been coming, and I feed them, and he drives them away. But this broke my heart because let me show you this picture here. Just a minute. So she came up with her, You see that with her little
Oh.
baby?
Oh, can I have it?
No, sit back. We have enough.
I want that baby.
Dude, if someone it's in Texas, Central
We don't
Texas,
live
but
in
if
Texas.
somebody wants to come here and get it.
I want that baby.
But anyway, so but here's the point is my and by the way, if anyone is in Central Texas or wants to drive here, this can be yours actually. They're very sweet. But but here's the thing, like I want to feed the strays, and my guy says to me, "But there are strays everywhere. There is a starving mama and a starving baby like all over this town. You can't go and feed all of them." And it's like, I can't, but sometimes in life will drop something into your lap, so to speak, and you feel the urge to take care of that thing, even though it doesn't help any of the other people or animals that are suffering. But it's like, here's a little bit of good I feel like doing. And I feel like that's what you did in this case, is that especially with your background, with cancer, this guy tugged on your heart and you felt like you had an opportunity here, not to solve all the evil in the world, but to help in this one situation. And it's just very unfortunate that that got manipulated. Kimberly, did you want to say anything here?
I agree with what they've said. It's just, I think that earth angels, as I call them, and light workers always get the short end of the stick. And I was the first one to say I'm never helping anybody else again. I love to help people. I love to make people happy. And I'm not doing that anymore because this kid burned me. But I mean, after sitting back and thinking about it, these things happen so that you can be more alert and so that you can be more aware when you're walking into a situation. So I think that even though this did happen, because the group was so responsive with helping, and the GoFundMe, they were right there with us, like, hey, we're going to help this kid, we're going to help you, and I thought that was great. So even though this happened and it was a negative situation, don't let that detour you from helping others just because this one kid was out here goofing around and doing what he wanted to do for the wrong reasons. Don't let that take away from other people who might actually need it. You can still help people. Just be more alert and more aware. I'm definitely going to fact check next time. But, I'm not going to say, yeah, I'm not going to help you anymore, because of that situation.
Right. And I think that is a good lesson to be learned here, is not to automatically disbelieve people or not to refuse to give help, but also to realize that there are unfortunately, some really twisted, sick people, and it's good to verify. Like, was it Reagan who said trust but verify? Famous, but anyway,
I remember the quote, not the person.
Trust but verify.
Yeah.
So,
verify.
well, listen, I really appreciate y'all coming on here again now after the fact to fill in some of the pieces of this story. And if there's anything that comes up, anything else that comes up that you think of that you want me to share, I will put it on my my Instagram page where I've been covering this. And of course, any updates that we hear, we will post those. But I really appreciate you doing 2-hour interviews almost with me, because guilty people just do not sit down for a 4-hour grilling or for multiple grillings, and particularly a live stream Q&A. That's very unusual. And so I hope this puts to rest finally for everyone who might have doubts about your innocence, that you are innocent and that you've been trying really, really hard, at the risk of putting yourself out here and making yourself a target. You all have been trying to get the word out on this. So,
well, I also want to say thank you very much for everything you've done, because you're helping bring light to the situation. Not only have you helped us get a lot of heat off our back, but you're really doing good by making these people seen. So if he's ever around another Marilyn Manson concert, they won't let him near him. They probably won't even let him in the concert. The fans won't.
I hope not.
I think the fans seeing him, they'll be like, "Oh, mosh pit out the building." They'll be
just try to show your face. You're going to have to get another sex change, Miles, to get back.
You have to
dress up like a lady or something.
Because Manson doesn't need another crazy person stalking him and bringing bad light to him. No band deserves that. No band deserves.
We're definitely looking for Miles at every show from now on. I don't care where it is. We have to look.
We'll go to Alabama.
You cannot sit with us.
Oh man. Well, I get behind that.
Make sure you can't go there either.
Well, Y'all, thank you so much, and good luck to you in the future, and
Thank
with
you.
and with this as well as you try to bring light and justice to the situation. And thanks everybody. Thank you to my mods, Laura B and Vanessa, for joining us on this one. And I'll post my links below in the comment section after I end this video. But I am going to be, as I said, you all putting out a video on the Menendez brothers situation. I'm doing a compilation of best moments from other documentaries, interviews, and also reasons why I believe that they do need to be released. And so I'm going to be putting that out. I'm also going to be doing an interview this week on a very big podcast. I don't want to jinx it by telling you who, but fingers crossed. I've been invited to go on a big podcast to talk about the Menendez stuff. So anyway, so here's that pivot that some of you wanted, right?
That pivot.
But also there is still a lot going on with the Manson situation. As I said, I'm going to be covering Manson probably for the duration of my career or his, whichever lasts longer. No, but seriously, and there's some surprises coming up in the future with that as well. But anyway, I am going to be looking into some other stuff and doing some different things on my channel. And appreciate y'all. So good luck to everybody.
Thank you.
And everybody have a good Sunday, and we will see you later.
Bye.
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 Bye.